7 Days to Die has 60 food and drink items, and today we're going to be ranking them from worst all the way down in the poison tier all the way up to S tier, where only the best food items can live. I'm sure there will be many hot takes in this video, but hopefully most of you agree with most of them. Let's get started. Murky water. This one, of course, is just pure poison, so that goes in the poison tier. Regular water. Now we're on to something good. This gives you 20 water and 15% better stamina generation. I think we can give that a D. It's the base for all the other good drinks in the game, so you might as well have it, but you should really upgrade it if you can, if you've got the resources. Goldenrod tea gives you 24 water, 15% stamina regen, and it can cure your dysentery 20%. I think that deserves just above water on C tier. Red tea, much better. This one's much more worth your time. We'll put that in B tier. That gives you 24 water as well. It also gives you efficient digestion 15%, which means you use 15% less food and water to regenerate your stamina. Quite good for when you're running around a solid item. If you can always keep yourself a stack of this going, you will always have a solid time running around. Yucca juice is a very solid option. 34 water in this case, and a 15% stamina regen boost that you get from pretty much every drink. It only costs a yucca and a water to make. Yucca is everywhere in the desert, so if you're in the desert, you should just be drinking this as much as possible, or red tea, depending on which you want. If you want the 15% less expensive stamina regen, then go for that. If you just want more water per water, then go yucca. So yucca juice is a B. Coffee gives you the same 24 as goldenrod tea and red tea, but it gives you an extra 5% regen compared to those, so you get 20% extra stamina regen with coffee, and you get 5+ cold resist, and it's relatively cheap to make, so I think that can definitely go in B tier here as well. Maybe below yucca, I don't know. The extra stamina is nice, but it's never really saved me that much. Beer gives you no hydration, but it does give you 40% stamina regen, and it gives you triple brawling damage and 100% stun resist. That right there is an S tier drink. It makes brawling builds unbelievably good. It can negate the effects of stuns and prevent you from getting concussions. Do not try that one at home, and you get a really good stamina boost. Every melee build wants some beer if they can get it, and of course if you can unblur your screen, that's the best one. Next we get yucca juice smoothie. Now yucca juice smoothies are kind of hard to make, but when you do make them, you get a huge 11 health and 78 water, and that is the highest water drink in the game. It does have the unfortunate cost of blueberries, yucca fruit, and snowballs, and it has the advantage of pretty much never actually using water, which is really nice. You can grow yuccas, you can grow blueberries, and you can mass harvest snowballs. You don't need a jar because those are gone now. So for being a drink you can make without needing to maintain a dew collector, it gives you insane water, gives you food and a little bit of health, and I believe it gives you cold resist. Yeah, it currently gives you a cold resist boost. That is useless in this update, but upcoming there is going to be a weather update that will probably make temperature a problem again, and also why would a ice cold smoothie with snowballs in it make you more effective against the cold? That's just a very long-standing bug in the game. It's obviously meant for the heat, because that would be the kind of thing you would drink in heat, but otherwise that is probably the best non-magical food item in the game. Like, beer is just a magical drug. It should really be on another list, but I've added it here. It's an A tier for sure. In fact, you know what? I'm going to put it at low S tier, but I'll put things in between them. Blackstrap coffee gives you 25% stamina regen, which is the highest out of all of them except for beer. So if you want the highest without screen blur, you've got that. And it gives you cold resist. And of course, the thing with coffee and blackstrap coffee is you do get extra ore when harvesting if you have that effect. I think that maybe moves coffee up here, and blackstrap coffee can go in A tier. Only gives you 24 water though, and it does cost you gunpowder, but it's not that big of a deal. And pure mineral water is the last water item in the game. It does cost kind of annoying things, costing water, coal, goldenrod, and chrysanthemum. You do get a massive 60 water from it, and you get pure dysentery, and you get efficient digestion. The only thing it's really lacking is stamina regen, which it only gives you 15 of. For hydration though, that's a solid A tier drink right there. I would always rather the yucca juice smoothie though. So that's all the drinks. There's your drinks tier list. Tell me what you think about the drinks tier list. Let's move on to the foods, and unfortunately we do have to get through foods that barely qualify as food, so let's do it quickly. Blueberries, that is a raw ingredient. It has no benefit to you eating it just like that. Same with cornmeal. In fact, cornmeal and bordering on poison, but we'll put it there. Corn, another raw ingredient. Supercorn, another raw ingredient. Obviously, supercorn is a very useful item, but as a food resource, it's useless. It doesn't even go in any foods, if I'm not mistaken. Eggs, that's a raw ingredient. Potatoes, raw ingredient. Pumpkins, raw. Mushrooms, raw. Yucca, raw. Although yucca I will give the benefit here. You can find that out in the wild and you can eat it when you're really, really starving. And if you're in the desert biome, it has saved me a few times, so I think it does deserve that at least. Nothing more. Rotten flesh, actively poison. It is useful, of course. Sham sandwiches, actively poison, is useful, of course. As a food item, no. Honey, I will give an S tier because it can cure your diseases. I mean, who doesn't want honey? You ever looked in a container and been like, oh no, it's honey. Ugh, I hate honey. No, everybody needs honey. Have it below the yucca juice smoothie. Raw meat. Yeah, that's a very versatile food item once you cook it, but in that form, it's just a raw ingredient. And that's all the raw food. So we got that one out of the way pretty quickly. If you only eat these like this, if you have no other option. In fact, you could maybe even put meat in the poison tier in its current state, but I think it deserves a bit more credit than that. Up to canned food. So large beef rations. The problem is I don't know which one's which. Here's beef. Beef rations give you 15 food, 7 health, 10 stamina, and are used in 2 recipes. I'm going to put that at a solid C tier. Lamb rations, exactly the same but only used in 1 recipe, so we will put that in a lower C tier. Chicken soup is 10 food, 10 water, 5 health, 10 stamina. That's pretty versatile, but it's not used in any ingredients, so we'll put that in a sort of a C tier as well. Chicken ration is the same as the beef and the lamb ration, but it is not used in any recipes at all, so we'll put it below that. Cans of tuna is 5, 2, and it's used in 1 recipe. I think we have to give that one a pretty low rating. Where is it? Yeah, that's a D tier. It's quite frankly, it's a raw ingredient. It really is. You should really just try and save those for tuna fish gravy toast later in the game because it gives you 5 food and 2 health. In fact, you know what? It's a raw ingredient. I'm putting it there and I'm never eating tuna again in this video game. I've never thought about it like that until right now. Can of stock is 5 food, 10 water, 1 health. Also, for these last ones, I've been saying 10 stamina. I'm just wrong. That's how much they stack to. They don't give any stamina boosts. Please ignore that. They're used in gumbo stews. Honestly, I reckon we put that on par with water because it literally does give you the same amount of water and otherwise you would want to not really use it. Where is it? Do I not have cans of stock? So this is a can of stock. It should be here. I have not put the can of soup in this one. So we will chuck that back in. Hang on. But I think it was here. There we go. Problem solved. Can of sham. 15 food, 7 health. Not a terrible thing to eat and it's used in 1 recipe. It's about on par with like lamb. Although it is craftable, so maybe I would give it an edge over the lamb. You should never craft it, but it is craftable. Salmon is exactly the same. It's used in 1 recipe, but it's not craftable, so we'll put it near the lamb. Peas is 10 food, 5 water, 5 health, and it's used in 3 ingredients, so definitely an upper level one here, sort of in C tier. Can of pears is just 10 food, 5 water, 5 health. That's pretty meh. We'll put that below chicken soup just a little bit, which brings us to dog food, which is 10 food, 5 health, which puts it a little bit worse than pears, although it is used in Grandpa's Learning Elixir, so I'll give it the advantage over a couple of these. Cat food is just worse than pears. Yeah, just outright worse than pears, so that'll go C tier. In fact, you know what, that's going like high D tier. Can of miso soup is 10 food, 10 water, 5 health, and not used in anything though. That does give it a bit of an advantage in a sense, because you're not wasting anything. So I'll put that above these ones. No, I think it's not as good as those. It's better than dog food. So between dog food and chicken rations. And chili is 15-7, 1 recipe. So that goes next to the lamb as well in C tier. Cans of pasta is 15-7 again. So that's going to go next to the lamb ration. That seems about right. I'd maybe even give peas a bit of an advantage for how many recipes it's used in. Yeah, because it is used in more than beef. Right, so we've gotten rid of all the raw ingredients, the poison ingredients, the drinks, and the canned food. We are now at just the cooked food part of the tier list. Charred meat is the bottom of D tier. You should never make that if you can afford not to, because it costs exactly the same as grilled meat. It's just worse. You get 10 food, you lose 5 water, you get 5 health, and you get 10 stamina. If you can avoid that, avoid it. Boiled eggs, 10 food, 5 health, 10 stamina, but you probably don't want to use them. You want to save those for bacon and eggs instead, or pumpkin cheesecake, or blueberry pie. Grilled corn and baked potato are going to go in exactly the same tier as these. You should really be saving those for something else. This is wasted food here, but if you're desperate, that's what you've got. Cornbread, you should really be using your cornmeal for something else. It's going to go D tier. These have all been D tier so far. Then we come to grilled meat. That's worthy of an inclusion at the top of C tier. That is a solid hearty meal that you will use for a lot of the game. Boiled meat is actually really good for healing, and it gives you 15 health. The only thing is it costs you water. For the health benefits though, I am going to put it just ahead of grilled meat, but do consider you should really have a good water supply if you're doing that. If you have a good water supply, there's no reason not to make boiled meat over grilled meat, but if you have a good water supply, you should be building some of these other foods instead anyway. Bacon and eggs give you 36 food and 18 health and 10 stamina, which is just better than all of these. I'll give that a low B tier, probably above yucca. Put it next to its cousin coffee there. Blueberry pie gives you 45 food, 22 health and 20 stamina. It's the first food item here that gives you 20 stamina, so it definitely deserves to be on a high A tier here, or maybe a high B tier. It is kind of annoying to craft, I suppose. Pumpkin bread only gives you 12 food and 6 health. It does give you 20 stamina. It costs pumpkins and cornmeal to make. Or wait, who grows pumpkins? Who makes cornmeal? It's okay. It's an okay food item. I would put it sort of on par with grilled meat, but a little bit lower because I'm just offended by it. Pumpkin pie is definitely a better option, giving you 50 food and 25 health, requiring cornmeal, animal fat, eggs, and 2 pumpkins and water. That's gonna go, I guess, like honestly here, just because of the resource requirements for that and the other things you could be doing instead, but just off of its raw stats alone, it is pretty good. Pumpkin cheesecake gives you 5% better bartering for 5 minutes, so we'll just put that in S tier. That's a very powerful effect. Now, meat stew. 50 food, 20 water, 25 health, and 20 stamina for the cost of meat, corn, potato, and animal fat and water. It's a pretty easy thing to make overall, and it gives you a lot of good stats. It's a very versatile food. What I find I do is after I'm done with grilled meat and I have a farm set up, I will actually switch over completely to meat stew over any of these food items here, probably an A tier. Vegetable stew is meat stew for people who are terrified of animals in 7 Days to Die. It's worse in every way, giving you almost half as much food, but giving you the same water and almost half as much health, at the benefit of costing completely just vegetables and water, so you don't have to kill anything to make vegetable stew work, so you can like almost fully automate the production of it. It's a very versatile food source that people use in that way. I just find it's worth going out and killing a few bears and getting way more out of the vegetables that I spent so much perk investment to get to. So I would rather use meat stew, but I will put veggie stew sort of just behind it. Bacon potato meals are basically the same as meat stews, but they don't give you any water and they don't cost any corn, but they cost mushrooms instead. They are a completely valid substitute if you would prefer to not grow corn or use your grown corn for something else, but they don't give you water, so I'll put it between it and the vegetable stew. Hobo stew gives you 64 food, 20 water, and 32 health and 30 stamina. It's the first 30 stamina item we are seeing here. It does cost rotten flesh, which is actually really easy to get, but it's not as easy, weirdly enough, as meat, and it costs everything else that a meat stew is. It's basically an upgraded meat stew, so for that I will put it ahead of meat stews here, and I think these should be ahead of the drinks, all of them. I don't think it deserves S tier yet. The rotten flesh is nice, and it's relatively easy to get a lot of it if you go out and kill a bunch of graces, kill a bunch of zombie bears and zombie dogs, but meat is more common, but the hobo stew is more powerful. So these are kind of, these 4 are all valid endgame mainstay food items. The best one is this, and I see it going kind of in this order, so that is getting an A tier. Fish tacos, 46 food, 40 health. Now that's a lot of health. That's the most health so far, I think. Did you get the 30 stamina bonus? It just costs salmon and cornmeal. That's a really, really good mainstay food item as well. I could definitely see you using that a lot. The thing that holds it back is you need cans of salmon, which means that you can't easily mass produce it. You need to keep buying cans of salmon and keep looting them and keep holding those for later. So for that reason, I'm going to put it below vegetable stew because it's less practical to make, but it is still exceptionally powerful and relatively easy to make. Maybe above vegetable stew, but getting a lot of it is a lot harder than any of the other 4 items here. Chili dogs are a similar case. They have even more food than the fish tacos and less health, same stamina, costing meat, chili, cornbread. It's a lot of processing, like you have to put things to craft for a lot longer than you would really like to. I was going to put chili dogs in B, but I've reconsidered it. I think it's a good use for your meat and your corn. The only downside really is you need to find cans of chili and you need to make corn into cornmeal, and then cornmeal into cornbread, and then cornbread into the chili dog. That's a massive pain in the ass that I think docks at some points. It's less practical, I think, than vegetable stew, but it is better than a lot of these foods ahead of it, just limited by the cornbread loop. We come to sham chowder. Sham chowder gives you 53 food, 10 water, and a whopping 80 health, plus 30 stamina, and it gives you +1 fortitude for 10 minutes. It's pretty much an S tier food item. You need to use corn and potatoes and cans of sham, but it is technically entirely craftable, and it's the most powerful healing item out of all the foods, if I'm not mistaken, so I will put it like here. But I wouldn't recommend actually crafting the sham for it. If you've got excess sham, you should always make the sham over any of these stews. Otherwise, just go for the stews. If you don't have any extra sham, don't try and get extra sham. The next food item is tuna fish gravy toast, which gives you 90 food and 45 health and 40 stamina. That is the first 40 stamina item. It gives you an insane amount of health, gives you an insane amount of food. It gives you the 4th highest food in the game, and to craft it is honestly relatively easy. You need tuna, cornmeal, cornbread, animal fat, and peas. It's mostly corn and random items, so it's not going to be the easiest thing to get a lot of, so it's probably going to go in a low S tier. It's kind of impractical to have to make corn and then cornmeal and then cornbread and then split your cornmeal in half, of course, so that you still have some left over to make the rest of it. If you've got the ingredients, solid food item, not that bad to make at all, and it's very, very powerful. It's twice as powerful as meat stews. Shepherd's pies give you even more food at 104 and even more health at 52, requiring corn, animal fat, potatoes, peas, and lamb rations. That's just a more practical one to make because you don't have to make cornmeal and cornbread and stuff. So I'll put that like here. You could feasibly live off of shepherd's pie for a very long time because you just need to find lamb rations and peas, and then corn and potatoes. You don't have to hunt anything, but you do need animal fat, so pretty good item though. Then we come to spaghetti, which has 122 food, which is the highest food in the game, and 61 health, plus 40 stamina. To craft it, you need beef, pasta, mushrooms, animal fat, and water, which is pretty much on par, I would say, with shepherd's pie, but you actually only have to grow one thing for it, so I would say that gets a better bonus. It is the highest food item in the game. I'm still putting sham chowder here for the health boost it gives you and the fortitude boost. And that leaves us with one more, the gumbo stew, which gives you 10 less food than shepherd's pie, but it does give you 20 water and it gives you 56 health instead of 61, requiring 3 lootable only items and then animal fat and water. So you don't have to grow anything to make these, you can make them exclusively out of loot, which is good for some people, bad for other people. For that, I think I'm going to put it just below spaghetti because it gives you more food and you don't need to use a water. Oh, you need to use a water in either of them anyway. Okay, so in that case, I will still give it to the spaghetti for the extra health. It's neck and neck with these though. The spaghetti's a little bit easier to make because you can grow one of the ingredients. I realized there at the end I forgot to list 4 items here, just 4 drinks I had forgotten, plus the forgetting elixir. We're not going to put the forgetting elixir on this list because it's just an item that resets your skill points. It doesn't really have any duration effects or anything like that. We have Mega Crush, 60 water, 15% stamina regen, 50% extra run speed. That is of course S tier. Grandpa's Moonshine, 400% melee damage, stun resist healing, and stamina regen, again S tier. Awesome Sauce bartering 10%, again S tier. And Learning Elixir, 20% XP, again S tier. If you want to see another 7 Days to Die tier list, why not check out this armor tier list I did last week? Let me know if there's any other tier lists of 7 Days to Die that you want to see.